Oh no, that flip. Oh well. It is what it is. Man, I swore I tore the stupid focus thing off. Hopefully it stays off. All right. Welcome to yet another edition of the Mindfulness Power Hour, or as I've been liking to call it, the Mindfulness Amateur Hour, as I'm still learning about all the wonderful things that go along with live streaming, with podcasting, with creating this kind of online content. But I keep showing up here for myself and for Yins guys. We are working to be here every Thursday at 8 p.m. Live stream on the YouTube, live stream on the TikTok. Trying to continue to build this online mental health community to normalize talking about our mental health, normalize talking about our struggles, our wins, our self-care, what has gone right in our lives, what has gone wrong in our lives. My hope is as we continue to do this, we'll continue to build a live audience that turns in each and every week. But for now, I'm hopeful that we'll continue to get people turning into this on the replay and watching it at their leisure, getting their wellness on wherever they are and whenever they can. So thank you. If you're here live, thank you so much. If you're turning in on the replays, let's get after it tonight. Now, I don't mean to start tonight off on a bummer note, but it is Suicide Prevention Month, right? Suicide awareness. One of my local communities just suffered the tragedy of a high school student committing suicide on school property. We're not going to get into details. We're not going to name names. But it makes the talk of suicide and its impact on us very real. And I forgot to put on my microphone, so the YouTube stream has not gotten much of any of that. Again, the amateur trying to get it all figured out, right? All right, we got the mic on. So being that it's Suicide Prevention Month, being that there just was a tragedy in one of my local communities surviving suicide, I want to make sure we're starting off this hour with make sure we're talking about suicide prevention, reminding everybody that if we're dealing with suicidal thoughts and things are getting a little scary, a little real, we're really making a plan. We're really getting after stuff. Collecting pills, collecting sharps, ropes, really making that plan. Always remember about the suicide crisis hotline. You can call 988. You can text 988, right? You can text somebody now. You don't even got to pick up the phone and call them. You can text it 988. In the Pittsburgh area where I'm located, there's the Resolve Crisis Team, right? You can get them called. Hold on, I forgot to pull their number up real quick here. But the Resolve Crisis Service, that is 1-888-7-YOU-CAN. So that's 1-888-796-8226. And that is the local Pittsburgh Crisis Agency. And if we're starting to feel a little squirrely, a little dangerous, a little out there that we're going to do something we may regret, we're going to possibly choose a permanent solution for a temporary problem. Resolve is a great crisis service to contact. If this is something we're really struggling with on a daily, consistent basis, they have a step up called the Cactus Program. So there is support out there. That please, if you're thinking about harming yourself, thinking of killing yourself, reach out, talk to somebody, voice your concern, share your feelings, contact a loved one, right? With somebody that you care and really trust. You create a safety plan, right? Create a list of things you're going to do, people you're going to contact, coping skills you're going to choose. Let's work together to fight through those suicidal thoughts, to stay alive. As somebody who was very depressed and suicidal in high school, I think about the last 22 years that I would have missed out on, that I wouldn't have grown up and experienced. And the biggest thing I tell my clients that are dealing with suicide is it does get better. Life does get better, but it's going to get better if you put in the work, right? If you access the coping skills, invoke the wellness strategies, make an effort to communicate and talk about your feelings, getting your yinzselves a therapist, right? And in terms of suicide prevention, that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this, right? It's why I'm taking an hour out of my day after a long day to create this power hour, to create this wellness wherever you are idea, to give people this opportunity to talk mental health, to talk self-care, to learn about different coping skills, right? Because my hope is that somebody tuning in here learn something, get something out of it, and benefits from this in some way. And if it's somebody that's dealing with suicidal thoughts of self-harm, then perfect, great. It was all worth the sacrifice of spending another hour away from my wife and family after I've already put in an 11-hour day playing therapist. I started this morning at 9:00. So we're in the 11th hour here. It's definitely a long day, but business is booming and bums me out, because if business is booming, that means the world's on fire, right? It means we're struggling out there. It means this kind of power hour, these kinds of conversations that we can have here are so goddamn important. And that's where I encourage you guys to please like, comment, subscribe, share the shit out of this stuff. Share the shit out of my channel. Share the shit out of my content. The world needs a healing, right? People need help now more than ever. We need more mental health support and access now than ever. And I think this is a great way to get there and get after it. So if you're new to turning in here, if this is your first time, kind of what one of the big things I like to do when we start off is talking self-care, right? Taking a moment to talk about what we've been up to, what we've been doing to help ourselves, what we've been doing to make life awesome for ourselves. What have we been doing to take a break, to relax, to get our mind off all the craziness and all the bullshit that is to today's world. And I really like to make sure I start off with putting out what I've been doing, what I've been working on, because I stress it to these guys all the time. Well, my clients all the time. This is a lifestyle. This is working hard to make these active choices. And I feel that if I can put my self-care on display, if I can share with you guys what I do to keep myself sane and keep myself able to sit here and play trauma therapist for so many people after so many hours, after so many sessions, and maintain my sanity, that I think it's important to let you guys know what I've been up to. Right now, with the audit still going on, I have not quite been able to get into my powerlifting routine the way I wanted to, but that is going to be over here very soon. So I hope to get back to that, because that is a big thing. In terms of my self-care, one of the things that I've been doing is been doing a trauma training. Every couple of years, I got to get recertified as a grief and trauma therapist. I've started another trauma training. It's a dual certification training. I can't exactly remember what letters at the end of the name I'm going to get, but it's a nice, awesome refresher course. I like it because it helps me, with the meditations and the mindfulness, right? Because I get to put it on in the mornings, and kind of lay there and listen to it. And my brain wants to flutter away with the intrusive thoughts about this day and that, and what I got to get done, and the to-do list, this, and right, all those things. And then it's like, no, brain, I ain't thinking about that shit right now. I ain't worried about that shit right now. I'm listening to this training, right? And that's mindfulness, right? So getting started on my recertification there has definitely been a big part of my self-care this week. The other thing that has been a big help is this weather. I had to take my kid to the dentist yesterday, so I was able to put the bike on the back of my car and get a bike ride in. And it was only an hour. It was only 5 miles. It wasn't a lot, but it was something, right? And there's a whole lot of other things I could have chose in that hour to do, right? It didn't necessarily need to be a bike ride, right? I could have napped. I could have this. I could have gotten fast food, right? I could have done all kinds of different things. And instead, I made the choice to go on that bike ride, right? And I think that is a really important thing. I think it is very helpful. I really do. And then, interestingly enough, I didn't get a chance to take the bike off the car yesterday, so I still had the bike with me today. And so because of that, I got to go on another bike ride. I had a session end a little early. I had a cancellation. There's a bike trailhead, 15 minutes for me. So again, lots of other things I could have chose, lots of other things I could do. And instead, I was able to go on a bike ride, invoke that self-care, right? Get that exercise on, and be able to do the thing. So, that's kind of been what my self-care has been as of late, right? Getting the training on. Got 2 bike rides in this week. So that's cool, right? I got to keep working on it. Got to keep finding the way, right? This world is stressful. It's chaotic. It's tough. But we got to find a way, right? Just because the world is going to shit doesn't mean we got to go to shit with it, right? We can find a way to rise above, to do something to push back, right? So, and again, as this is kind of starting to become the format of this power hour, we start off with talking about our self-care, right? What are we doing for ourselves, right? What are those investments we're making in ourselves? And then we also like to make sure we take a moment to talk about our gratitude, right? What are we grateful for in our lives? What about our lives is going well? What about our lives is working out for us, right? What is helping us and doing a good job with things? I think for me, one of the things that has worked out for me this week that I'm really grateful for, is that little bit of time to go on those bike rides, to get outside in the sunshine, to enjoy the beautiful weather that we're having right now in Pittsburgh, PA. I'm very grateful for those opportunities to get that activity in. For a lot of people, there's no time. It's hard. You're working this, you're doing that, take kids there. So anytime I get those kinds of down moments, those opportunities to take care of myself, I am extremely grateful for it. So if you're watching this live, if you're watching on the replay, let me know what you're grateful for. Let me know what's going right in your life. Sometimes we spend so much time talking about what is going wrong, what is the problems, what are the issues, what is pissing us off, that we forget to talk about the good. We forget to talk about the victories, right? And that's something we got to work to change. We got to make sure we celebrate what is going right, what is helping us out, what is making life tolerable, right? That is a very, very important thing. It just really, really is. So now that we've talked about our self-care, now that we've talked about our gratitude, and we've started off with, trying to put the good information out there about suicide prevention and the different ways people can work to take care of themselves. What we've been getting at to next is my list of shit I want to talk about. One of the things that I am really working to embrace at this point is if I still have no one tuning in, at least live, and maybe very minimum replays, as I find my groove and I take the reps and I continue to work to get better at this, and make it more entertaining and make it more accessible for people, continuing with the marketing and the promotion and all that fun stuff, right? One of the things that I'm really embracing is I get to say whatever the fuck I want and do whatever the fuck I want. This is kind of becoming my video log of my success as a professional, my push into the world to see how things go. My hope is that one day we can look back on these early episodes and cringe and laugh about how raw and unpolished and the production quality and all those things. But to get there, I got to keep getting in the reps. I got to keep showing up, right? We're at episode 11. right? I can't believe we're in double digits of all the different things I've tried in terms of content creation and getting my message and my knowledge out there to share with the world. This is the most success I've ever had, right? 11 fucking episodes in this series. That is cool ass shit, man. It really fucking is. And we're going to keep going with it, right? We're going to keep refining what we talk about, how we present things. Hope eventually I can have somebody sitting next to me as a co-host, right? Somebody to bounce ideas off of, to talk to enhance the conversation. I hope I get more people here live, so I can, enjoy things and play more with people and interact and talk more, right? I hope those things all come true, right? I do. But it's going to take the reps, right? So as we're working out the kinks of this amateur as we're working out the marketing and the promotion and getting more people here and getting people tuned in live and getting people tuned into the replay, I get to talk about whatever the fuck I want. So I've been working on, prepping and preparing for these episodes to try to figure out what we want to talk about. Maybe here at some point, I'll get to the point where I'll be able to, advertise what we're going to talk about. Because again, the whole goal of this eventually is to turn this shit into a podcast, right? Is to maybe separate the audio from the live stream, edit things up and this and that, and release some of this in podcast form, right? Maybe take different snippets from different episodes, different segments, and just create a podcast of different coping skills, different talks about mental health, things like that. So enough of that long-winded bullshit. What do I want to talk about this week? Well, one of the big things I wanted to talk about is this Neil Diamond musical that I just went and saw with my wife for our anniversary. Congratulations to my wife and I for celebrating 12 amazing years of being married. And part of that anniversary fun was this Neil Diamond musical, right? Now, Yin's guys might be a big fan of Neil Diamond. I am not a big fan of Neil Diamond. In fact, I didn't really know what songs were Neil Diamond's. I had no real idea. But I love the theater. I love musicals. I love spending time with my wife. So I was like, all right, fuck it. Let's do the thing. Let's go check out this musical, right? So I get there. I get the brochure, right? And on this brochure, it has a description of the musical. Neil Diamond is talking about the musical and why he's decided to do it and all those things. And in that description, it shares this fact that this musical is featured, sat around the idea of Neil Diamond's therapy sessions with his own fucking therapist, right? So it was a musical where you had current, present day Neil Diamond talking to his therapist, flashing back to all the memories of his life, all the trials and tribulations he's been through, all those things, right? And so, yeah, right? You can imagine me, the therapist nerd, right? Saw that setup and was like, fuck yes. I can't wait to check this shit out. Right? It's a therapy session. This whole musical is a goddamn therapy session, right? So you got to see a young Neil Diamond talking about woe is me and how that is him, how he didn't want the spotlight, how he never would have made it had other people encouraged him. We got the flashback to his first failed marriage, right? Where instead of dealing with life and dealing with his shit, he kept on running and kept on running. And then next thing you know, he fucked up his marriage, right? And he was not happy about it. In this musical, there's definitely moments, I ain't talking about this. I ain't going there. I learned that Sweet Caroline, right? The Pit fight song, right? Sweet Caroline, let's go Pit, right? That was the record. That was the hit that helped him break his contract with the mob, right? He was so desperate to make it big that he signed a record deal with the mob, right? And I think what's so amusing about it, I talk about surrendering to the flow and just kind of letting life happen and letting it take you where you need to go, right? It just, making your investments in yourself, paying attention to your self-care, but just letting life take you where you need to go.
I didn't even, of all the plays we have on our season package, this was definitely the one that we thought of the least. It was definitely the one that we weren't that interested in going to. And I think there was kind of talks about using those tickets to swap into a different musical, right? But no, we didn't do that, man, because somebody forgot to do it. But I ended up there, and it was fucking awesome. I got to see Neil Diamond's therapy sessions. And I thought, last thing I want to say on it, I thought it was really amusing because while I'm watching this thing develop, listen to some of his early music, seeing the kind of person that he is, right? And I can really relate to it, right? A lot of negative self-talk, a lot of self-deprecation, right? And then towards the end, when he's the big star and all that, oh my God, the sequence. Oh my God, how many goddamn sequences this man wear and hold on to? It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. And that's when I saw him in all the sequence. I was like, that's why I never turned into Neil Diamond. I never realized the real artist behind all the sequence, right? The real person there. So I guess eventually here, I'm going to take a moment to do a deep dive into Neil Diamond's catalog, listen to some of his records, see what I think and feel about it outside the musical. But I guess, again, didn't want to be there, was supposed to swap out tickets, forgot to, didn't get a chance to. Show up kind of like, okay, we'll see how this goes, see if I like Neil Diamond's music or not. And then it's a musical that is a therapy session. I was so happy. I was so happy, like a pig in shit, man. It was great. It was absolutely great. So at this stage of the game, I have one more thing I want to talk about, and then we're going to get to tonight's coping skill demonstration. I hope you like and stick around and watch us on the replay or watching it live and are ready for the coping skill demo tonight, which is going to be mindful eating, because I got some delicious cookies over here. And we're going to do a mindful eating exercise, right? Because remember, mindfulness is not something that you do, it's how you do things. And there's a lot of different ways to do a lot of different things very mindfully, right? So we're going to keep working on that, right? We're going to keep showing different ways to access that mindfulness, different coping skills to work on. So tonight's going to be a mindfulness eating exercise. Now, before we get to that, the last thing I want to talk about is this awesome thing that I read online today. It is a news article in Psychology Today. So I have it on the laptop over here I'm using to help me with some of my notes. Maybe something I'm going to work on so I'm not the whole time, right? But they decided finally to officially recognize that we do have introverts, right? But we also have this thing called an autrovert, right? We have introverts, we have extroverts, right? And now we are looking at this newer personality type called the autrovert. And what this um, it's kind of like somebody who is good with people, but not. That has their own thoughts and doesn't really belong to any collective group, but doesn't necessarily want to like totally isolate themselves. They're independent individuals who want those one-on-one connections and don't really need that validation of fear, right? It's kind of like the middle ground, right? Where you're not so extroverted that you're outside all the time, making friends and things like that, but you're not so introverted that you just want to hang out with yourself and fuck everybody else, right? It's one of those kind of middle grounds that really highlights some independence, not going along with the crowd, kind of having your own thoughts, right? And I just really wanted to make sure I took this word and I shared it with the world. Autrovert, because as we know in life, there's not a lot of one size fits all rules, right? There's not a lot of things that neatly fit in all these little categories, right? It's not how life works, right? So we know, just logically speaking, right? Logically speaking, if you have introverts that are very isolated and do their own thing, and you have extroverts that are very people-y and active and social, all that, there's got to be a middle ground, right? There's got to be something in the middle there in between those opposites, right? It's great to see them coming up with a term. It's great to see it gaining traction and getting out there, right? Because I think a lot of people recognizing that they're not this, they're not that, there's some more of this middle ground. I think can be very empowering, very helpful for people. So I am definitely very excited to see what happens with this kind of term, how we can work with people with it. Hopefully, it continues to be an awesome thing. I love personality types, personality conditions, disorders, if you want to use that word. I'm certified with uh, personality disorders, right? Borderline personality, narcissism, things like that. I'm certified to treat that stuff. So personality stuff, just again, the nerd in me, man. So when you see something like that, a new terminology, a new way to kind of categorize the way people socialize and how they get along with people, the way they think, I think it's an awesome thing. It really is. All right, all right, all right. So now that we're at this point of this mindfulness power hour, we're going to get to the demonstration part, right? We're going to get to the demonstration for today. It's going to be, again, a mindful eating exercise. And what mindfulness, right, is staying in the present, right? Really only focusing on what is just around you. What a mindful eating exercise is using your senses while you eat something to achieve that, right? We're going to work really hard here to not let our intrusive thoughts pop in. We're going to work really hard here to not let our brain distract ourselves, right? We're going to work really hard here to focus on just our senses, and that is it. So take a few moments if you need to. Go get something to eat, a snacky snack, cheese, bread, pot, whatever you got in your fridge, chips, cookies, right? M&Ms, peanut, whatever your snacky snack is, right? But get yourself a snacky snack. I'm going to keep rambling and bullshitting while you guys are doing the things, hopefully, right? And then once you get your snacky snack, right? Once you select whatever food you're going to eat, I want you to kind of take a moment and hold it in your hand, right? Because, again, senses, right? Touch. How does it feel, right? This is an amazing vanilla wafer cookie. So it feels rough, but light and weight, right? I can feel the different grooves on it. I'm now seeing all the crumbs fall off my laptop screen. So that's pretty cool, right? We want to always, I don't know if you guys have ever seen me eat, but anytime you see me eat, I always smell it, right? Because actually a lot of our taste comes from our sense of smell, right? So smelling something can be really beneficial, really useful, really helpful to help us not overeat, to decrease our binge eating, to help us feel fuller, right? That's where mindful eating can be such an important thing and so helpful. Um, it really can. So we're touching it, we're seeing it, smelling it, right? Now, some foods you're eating, you can hear it, right? I'm going to snap this in half, so I'm going to hear it, right? There was a crack there. And then as you chew it, right? That's a big part of this, is you want to chew as slowly and methodically and purposefully as you can, right? You don't just want to go, right, and just eat it real quick. You really want to take your time with it. Sometimes it's working on taking really small bites, right? A little nibble, little nibbles. Um, with M&Ms or like Starburst, one of my favorite things is to take the initial bite and let it hang out in your mouth. Thought on it, feel the flavors, feel the textures, feel how it sounds between your ears, right? Um, it can be an interesting thing. I kind of really slow down and take in all those sensations as you eat it, right? As you feel it. So I'm going to finish this cookie as slowly as I can. I'm going to keep touching it, keep smelling it, keep seeing it. And I'm going to work to keep hearing it as I bite and chew. And I'm going to work to chew as slowly and perfectly as I can. Okay? So here we go. We're going to keep doing it. Right? Nice. Slow. And what here, you want to focus in on it and fight those impulses, right? I do these kinds of exercises with a lot of clients. And like, I'm the one teaching them the exercise, right? I'm the one showing them the mindfulness eating exercise. And just out of habit, you throw the M&M in your mouth, throw the Starburst in your mouth, right? It can be such a hard thing to kind of fight that, that routine, that repetition, to not just immediately down it and chew it all over the place. Now I have a strawberry cookie. My hope is I'm going to smell it and it's going to smell different. We'll see. Still wafer cookie, same kind of wafer cookie. It's just the strawberry version. I know I call this the Mindfulness Power Hour, but until I get a co-host, until I get people coming in live and sharing in the chats and things like that, the conversation piece that could extend our time here together just isn't here. I have been playing therapist for the last 11 and a half hours, so I'm beat. I'm exhausted. It's honestly why I'm thinking that this power hour may need to become a morning show. I'm thinking I might need to find a morning at sometime during the week to do this show, and maybe then will I get better participation and better traction, right? But with my schedule right now, I don't really have the morning. I have this little bit of time after my day to kind of do this and help create this kind of awareness. So as I work on finishing this, we're going to be working on closing up shop here today. So I ask you guys if you've stumbled upon this, if you've stumbled upon my clips, things like that, please comment, please like it, please share it, please follow me. It means the world. I want to save the world. I want to make my corner of the world sparkle like a motherfucker. I want to do good things here, right? I want to normalize talking about mental health. Normalize, learning about coping skills, doing what we can to make sure nobody unalives themselves, right? This world needs a healing. Let's band together, let's work together, and let's heal this shit. Let's make our part of this world sparkle like a motherfucker, right? Oh, if you've tuned in live on the YouTube and the TikTok, I appreciate you. If you made it here watching the replay that's always up on YouTube, I appreciate you. Just for being here, right? I appreciate you guys. I'm going to keep at it. I'm going to keep showing up here every Thursday, 8 p.m. For the foreseeable future. If I continue to get nobody and no traction, maybe at some point we will retool the game plan. But for right now, it is what it is. We're building something here together. I know we're going to take some lumps and bruises. It's just important for me to get the reps in, to figure out what I want to say, what I want to talk about. Because eventually, again, I really want to make a podcast. And I don't know how to do that. I don't know what I talk about. I just don't know. So right now, it seems like to be the easiest thing for me is just to stream live and make it happen that way, right? Kind of put me on the spot with that ADHD brain, right? So I hope you guys try some mindfulness eating. I hope you guys find ways to invoke those senses while you're eating, to decrease your portion control problems, to make sure you feel fuller faster, right? It is definitely a scientifically proven approach to help us with our eating habits. Well, thank you guys so much. Look, I'm trying not to chew it right away while I'm talking. That's hard, man. Thank you guys so much for today, for tuning in, for sharing, for liking shit, for subscribing to things. I appreciate you guys. Take care of yourselves. Work on that mindfulness. Work on that self-care. And I'll see you guys next Thursday. Peace.